Hey guys, I just wanted to say thank you for using my creator code whenever you purchase any Sims 4 DLC on the EA app or thesims.com. I receive a 5% commission each time you use my code, which means you're directly supporting me as a creator. I know there are a lot of codes floating around out there, so I am very grateful that you've chosen me to support in this way. Thank you so much. Hey guys, it is MissSimReno. If you are returning to the channel, welcome back. And if you're brand new, I am very excited that you decided to join me here today for another speed build. And if I am talking quietly, I am yet again recording during my baby's nap time. So I am trying to be kind of quiet. I'm watching the baby monitor like a hawk, and I figured I could squeeze in like a 12-minute voiceover. So let's see how this goes. But that also means that, well, if you didn't know, I'm actually on maternity leave right now, but I've been trying to do some builds just in my spare time, of which I have very little at this point, but I've been trying to do some builds and I'm trying to share them in a timely manner because at the moment there are tons of pre-recorded videos going up on my channel. So if you've been around, you've probably watched a fair amount of those pre-recorded ones, but this one's a little bit more current. I'm recording it in August and I think maybe it's going up in August, maybe September. I don't actually even know because I do have a ton of scheduled videos. Anyway, today I'm really excited because we are making a medieval tavern. So I've mentioned this before, not super often, but I used to play WoW a lot. I wasn't super serious with it, okay? I really enjoyed it, but I haven't been able to keep up with like all the expansions, the level changes, like all this other stuff. I don't keep track of stuff like that. And honestly, I wasn't really in it for the stats. I enjoyed doing little dungeons and I enjoyed running around doing my little questies. Like that's about it. I never really did raids or anything like that. I'm not trying to get top tier gear. I don't sell things like in the game or anything like that. Like I'm not trying to like hoard gold or anything. I did not take it seriously, but I had a great time and I loved all of the little taverns that you could find in a plethora of the different worlds in WoW. So I was perusing Pinterest and suddenly something medieval was recommended to me and I was like, you know what? I think it's time. It's time. It is time I do some kind of medieval build in The Sims 4 because I have seen some things that people have made. They're freaking incredible. But I will put the inspo image on screen for you now. It really did kind of give me this initial shape, but we do end up expanding this actually a lot. Well, maybe not a lot, that's not fair, but we do expand it a little bit. It ends up looking a little bit different, but I really wanted to try to get comfortable with this initial shape, especially because what I notice a lot in like medieval, even if it's just like artwork and things like that, the second floor always kind of overhangs the first floor, and I feel like that can be challenging to actually do in The Sims 4 in a way that doesn't look odd. Like to me, this wasn't looking odd, thankfully. Usually it does when I try to do stuff like that, but it didn't look odd, so I was kind of just rolling with it. I didn't really know exactly what I wanted it to look like, but then I was starting to feel like the first floor was just way too small, so we do end up expanding it, but I wanted to play around with some of the details, make sure that I had like the wallpapers I wanted, the roof, and this is where we end up expanding it, and I used actually a lot of the, what is it called? The Castle Estate Kit, that's what it's called. The Castle Estate Kit, I said it when this pack came out, when I finally did a build with it, and I was like, this is an elite kit, genuinely. I'm not a huge fan of many of the kits that we're getting nowadays. Not in the sense of like, I don't like the content. I'm just kind of sick of kits, to be frank, but the Castle Estate Kit, the objects are absolutely stunning. Like you can make very unique builds with those items. So I really enjoyed using that here with a mix of things from Get Together and Cottage Living. Like the roof from Cottage Living, I was so tempted to do just like a blue shingled roof, just like a lot of the taverns in WoW, but I didn't end up doing that. I liked the thatched roof. I don't get to use thatched roofs outside of Henford-on-Bagley that much. At least I don't try to. That made it sound like I was restricted. I'm not, but I just don't tend to do that. But I really liked how this turned out. It made it a little bit bigger, a little bit more spacious. I played around with some platforms and stuff, and I just loved adding all of the little details to this build. As you can see, I started with a ton of items that I pulled out from the build by catalog because I didn't want to spend in the midst of building, because it took me probably about an hour prior to starting my recording. I didn't want to spend like an hour or something like that going through the catalog on screen with you all to pull out some of these items. So I pulled out things that I thought I might use, but there were certain things I ended up not using, which is completely fine. But it was kind of fun to go through the catalog and find things that I felt really fit this aesthetic, because I knew it was going to be somewhat of a challenge. The exterior I knew would be simple enough. You know, we have things that would really work on the interior, like a lot of such stuff from Cottage Living and Get Together. But outside of that, I really wasn't sure how things were going to look. And I didn't really know what I wanted the exterior to look like either. The one thing I knew I wanted to use though is the outhouse that we got from the Nature's Calling event, I believe it was. I just call it the Shrek outhouse because that's all it makes me think of is Shrek. And I put that at the back of the build because I would think that in medieval times you didn't have a bathroom with a nice flushing toilet. You probably went and pooped in a hole in the back. Like, let's just be honest here. It probably wasn't the cleanest and best smelling time, right? It is what it is. So I put the outhouse out back, and I wanted this to be very reminiscent of a lot of those like taverns in WoW. So I did add a place upstairs with a bunch of beds for you to have Sims like sleep and stay there. Like, I'm trying to think of how this would work for gameplay as well. You could absolutely have it as a bar. And maybe you could have it as a small business though, and add the activity of like sleeping. I think that's an activity, right? Is sleeping. So you could technically run this as like a bar. You could have an employee make drinks, or your Sim can make drinks, and customers can come get drinks, maybe have food, and then they could go sleep upstairs, and it could kind of run like a tavern, which I thought would be pretty neat. A little like, not really bed and breakfast. We're going to stick with tavern. But the outside is very plainly decorated. I put this kind of like broken down wagon type thing. There's a lot of hay on the interior, by the way, as well, on the first floor specifically, because I thought that that was a very authentic, nice detail. A lot of like stone and like kind of reclaimed wood items as well. I thought that that would really kind of work. So on the first floor is actually where the bar ends up being as well, because I did want to make sure there was a bar. And then upstairs is just like seating and the beds and stuff. And there's tons of fireplaces as well, because that would be absolutely necessary. And then in this kind of like little stone area where I used a lot of the Castle Estate kit, I actually created like a little fire pit type thing. It doesn't actually function as a fire pit, because if I put one of the campfires in there, because I lowered it and sunk it into the ground with a platform, I don't think that your Sims would be able to use it. So I used the little like outdoor fire pit camping type set piece from Get Famous, and I thought that that was actually like a really cool idea. I was excited about it. I'm sure I'm not the first person to use that as like a faux fireplace type thing, like fire pit, but I thought it was really cool. I was really excited about that because you would see that a lot, maybe not necessarily in a lot of the taverns in WoW, but I looked at a lot more inspo pictures too, and there's always kind of like this sunken fire pit type deal, because that's where you'd go and like, maybe you could like make your food, or you could just kind of sit around the fire for the evening if you just needed a little bit of a reprieve, if you were just passing through as a traveler and you just needed a little bit of a reprieve to kind of sit by the fire, maybe kind of like cook some of your own food, sing songs, chat, stuff like that, without actually checking into the tavern, getting a room and staying the night type deal. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I was thinking. But yeah, there's a lot of hay in here. We've got some like distressed rugs, and I used these benches from Horse Ranch because they were the most natural looking item I think that could fit into a build like this. And I also I tried to do this, it didn't work. I had to play test it, but I tried to size down the bar from Horse Ranch and kind of hide it within the bar height countertops to make my own quote unquote bar, but it did not work at all. So what I end up doing is I use the bar, but I do size it down one, and it still works, but the drinks kind of float on the surface, which is a little bit annoying, but it works, and that's kind of what matters, I think. I also just added a few more details in there, and then we move on to this little area where I do make the little like sunken fire pit. I didn't think I was going to have the space, and I was thrilled that I did. I was really, really happy that I did. But yeah, I just thought it was a cool idea. It looks nice. It was really a set dressing, which is literally what this piece is as well from Get Famous. I sized it up ever so slightly, but when you are in live mode, there is like a live flame, which is nice. I also use these torches from Life and Death. Those were perfect, like the standing torches. We've got like beamwork and everything. I just think that I don't just think that as if I'm saying this for the first time. Horse Ranch, superior pack. Build and Buy is superior. I love Horse Ranch, and I used so much of it in this build. So upstairs, there aren't really any activities. There's just some more like seating areas. It's nothing special because I was really trying to go for more authenticity, compared to functionality, which might sound silly considering I hope you all download it and find a use for it in your game and play with it, but you could add like a Don't Wake the Llama table if you wanted a bit more functionality, maybe a chess table or something. But I didn't do that. I just added more seating, more benches, more torches, more distressed rugs. And then I added a couple of chairs around that fireplace upstairs as well, because I thought that that looked kind of nice. And then through that door there is where there's just going to be a bunch of beds and another fireplace. It's really minimally decorated, but I think that that again speaks to kind of a little bit more authenticity and just simplicity. It's not a very like complex build, and it's not like a highly decorated build, anything like that. And it was kind of refreshing for me, honestly, because a lot of my builds are usually super, super detailed, very, very cluttered and everything like that. So this was just nice. It was kind of a breath of fresh air, and I've never done anything like this before, so I was just really, really excited to do it in the first place. So yeah, I just add 4 beds in here, a fireplace, another rug, then I add the outhouse and some more landscaping in the back, and that's like pretty much it for this build. So I hope you all enjoyed this one. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts, and I will catch you next time I post a video, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!